everyone, so in today's video I want to talk about making choices that are in the best interest of your rat's health. So I'm going to pick some examples that I have personally dealt with, and hopefully that will let you better understand the things you should consider. So we're also talking about considering the end of life or considering going for surgery, things like that. So I'm going to use Evie as my first example because this one literally just happened. So over the weekend, Evie was presenting with pain. She had a murky bloody discharge from her vagina. She was puffed up. So puffed up for is a sign of pain. Now I know that they can get like the odd cyst, and that can cause them to bleed a little bit. Some people will immediately jump to the, oh my god, it's pyometra, like you must spay immediately. I used to jump to that conclusion, but I've now had rats that have just bled, for a day or two without any pain symptoms and been fine. So what happened with Evie was because it was a weekend obviously, I couldn't get to my regular vet, so I put her on pain relief and I started her on antibiotics in case there was an infection, so I could keep her going basically until Monday. And what was making it hard with my choices for Evie is she is 22 months old, so she's not young by any stretch. She is in relatively good health, but she is a bit of a kind of snotty rat. So she gets quite hooty and snotty when she's stressed. So that kind of issue with breathing and being nearly 2 years old, both of those are not good for, a good candidate for surgery. So you've got to weigh these things up. So when I took her to the vets on Monday, we discussed options, obviously taking into consideration that if we did go for surgery, it would be high risk. Like, she could not come through the operation because of her breathing. We could have opened her up and found out that perhaps it was a tumour that was affecting her and it was not removable, in which case that would be a put to sleep option at that point. So there's times where you will find that you've got to weigh up your options and your quality of life. So we decided to leave it a couple of days to see how she was. Now, she'd been on pain meds this whole time, but she was still fluffed up. She was still displaying signs of pain while on pain meds. So this led me to the next point, which is, I can't manage her pain. What are my next options? So my next options were high risk surgery, or I just put her to sleep. And that sounds quite harsh. Now, for some people, obviously, like, you've got to have the money as well. Surgery isn't particularly cheap sometimes, depending on what it is they need done. To give you an idea, this emergency spay cost me £150. So it's not cheap. Everyone, some people might not have that money or have the ability to be able to pay that. And in which case, the kindest thing to do would be to put the rat to sleep. Because if you can't manage the pain, they are not having a high quality of life. Because when I had posted yesterday about Evie going for a high risk surgery, one of the comments said to me, why spay then? And I did answer in the comments why, but it made me think about doing this video to explain why you might make certain choices for your rat based on the circumstance. So given Evie's circumstance, she was relatively healthy and it was either try or put to sleep. And in this situation I wanted to try, so we did the surgery. If people have looked at my Instagram, it turned out that her ovaries were full of cysts, which was causing the bleeding from there. But she also had a UTI to go with it, so she's peeing blood as well. So she's on so many drugs, but she did get the spay. So hopefully in a few days, when she starts to recover fully from that operation, I would hope to see that her pain is completely free at that point, because we should have everything under control. So that is one example of weighing up the dangers of an operation versus the quality of life, or can you support that quality of life. I'm going to give you another example. I'm going to use Alice as an example. So Alice had what I suspect to have been something like kidney stones or bladder stones, just based on like the symptoms that she had. So what she had was inoperable. Now, what you would do at that point is I put her on painkillers because I wanted to keep her comfortable. And I mean, thankfully for many months I was able to keep her comfortable. She was happy on the pain meds, there was no sign of pain, and if she did start to get slight pain, I upped it slightly because I knew what dose I could work within to keep her comfortable. And at the point she got to, now this was many weeks later, so I got a lot of weeks with her, which I was thankful for. She started to, you know, remain more fluffed up all the time, you know, that sign of discomfort, that sign of pain. And that was me having her on the maximum dose of painkillers. And that's the point where you should be looking at that quality of life and going, I've had a good few, you know, lots of weeks, months with her even, managing her pain, but I am now not managing her pain. And at that point, the kindest thing to do is to put them to sleep. The other scenario, sorry, not option, another scenario that you could have, I've not had this in a while now because it was more an issue that came with rescue rats that I had. I would have a rat that was, you know, unknown age, so I had an estimated age, was an older rat, and perhaps had 2 tumours grown at once. So that immediately made me decide, you're older, you've got multiple tumours, I am not going to put you in for a tumour removal. And again, that was my choice. You will get people who will still try for surgeries and who will still go ahead with surgeries when it is multiple tumours. But in my instance, I decided that I would not put the rat in for surgery. So what that means is keeping them until they're at a stage where they are no longer comfortable. Like, you don't want the tumour to get so big that it is obviously obstructing their daily life. It could even be getting to the stage of looking like it's going to rupture soon. That's when the skin kind of thins out and you can kind of see it start to look sore, or it starts rubbing or starts splitting. Obviously that is very, very painful. So you would have to be willing at that point to keep them until they were at that stage where quality of life was going to be an issue, and then put to sleep. So that's just kind of like 3 examples I wanted to give you and talk through with you about what you should think about and what you may need to think about at some point in your rat's life, like the different reasons. For me, the main reason I make my choices is based on pain management. You know, can I manage their pain? You know, if you can't manage pain, then what kind of life is that for your pet? You know, if you cannot manage it with painkillers effectively, then there's no quality of life. There's a very good chart that actually shows, I believe it's referred to as the grimace scale, and it shows like rats, and it's the way they kind of hold their ears and the way they shape their eyes, and it shows like different degrees of pain. You also get the fluffed up coat. Now, bear in mind that when they're angry, they do also get fluffed up coats if they're angry, but they basically kind of look like a hedgehog. I call it hedgehogging because they go into this round ball shape and all their fur stood up on end. But that can be a sign of pain. And then you also get the extreme sight of pain on them is when they're side sucking. So their sides are basically concaving in and like dipping in. That's like a very, very bad sign of pain. If they're side sucking, they quite often do like stretches as well. You'll see them kind of elongating their bodies kind of like that, and they'll be stretching themselves around, and they'll be like moving and twisting their torso and like contorting themselves. That's extreme pain. So I just think it's an important video to talk about. Obviously, as I said, using those 3 examples I had, different examples about what I personally would decide to do. And it's important to remember that what I decide to do in these situations is not necessarily what you would decide to do in these situations, and it doesn't make you a bad person. You have to do what's right for you, your personal circumstance, your financial circumstance. You know, at the end of the day, you're doing what's right for your rat. Some people would not have put Evie in for an operation, you know, given her age and high risk. I would not judge you if, you know, if you told me that story and said we decided to put her to sleep, if you cannot manage the pain, then, you know, I keep saying that, but if you cannot manage pain in these circumstances, then yes, you should be putting to sleep, no matter, you know, what sort of age or anything it is that they are. So yeah, this is a bit of, I suppose I didn't really want it to be a kind of somber video, but I guess in a way it is, because it's talking about end of life and it's talking about pain. But I think it's very important that you understand rats' body language, and it's very important that you understand when they are giving you pain symptoms. And something that's always been said, and I think it is a good thing, is in terms of putting a rat to sleep, it's better a day too early than a day too late. And it is a very good kind of motto, I guess, to live by. Especially, I think, when it comes to things like pituitary tumours or zimbal gland tumours, ones that are incredibly like debilitating, painful, and quite deteriorating basically for the rat. And a lot of people, you know, try so much to keep the rat going and alive that it's unfair on the rat. An example of that would be when I found baby Bat on, you know, just before Christmas, and he had the lump under his ear and he was head shaking and stuff. I could have been selfish and said, you know, I want one more Christmas with you, I'll wait till after Christmas to do it. But that wasn't in his best interest. His best interest was to be pain-free, and he was in discomfort at that point, so I let him go on Christmas Eve. As I said, it's a very hard thing to talk about. I know people don't like talking about end of life for the rats. I mean, I find it harder with some more than others, just because there's ones that I find myself getting more attached to, and sometimes it can cloud your judgment. You know, I think you need to really just think about your best interest of the rat at hand here. I hope I haven't rambled like too much in this video. I feel like I do this every time. I don't write anything down. I just literally sit in front of the camera and I just spew it all out and just see what happens. So yes, I hope that's helped you. Maybe we can help you question, you know, quality of life, like what can you do better by your rat's quality of life. And it's, you know, just think about it. And the bottom line is basically, if they have no quality of life and if you can't manage pain, then the kindest thing is to let them go. I promise my next video will be something happier. I have no idea what it is yet, but it surely cannot be as somber as this one. Thank you for listening to me. I hope this has helped you, and I'll see you in my next video.